Alright, so another thing that input elements need is they need an ID, and the label needs a 4. So that, it's not as important with most of them, but it gives you the ability to click on the label, and it will bring you into the input. It's particularly important for checkboxes and radios, so that you can click on the label and toggle it. So let's go into our code here. It was common to all of them, so we're going to put it in the root base class, a parameter, prop string, call it element ID, and I'm making this public so that in case the user needs to access the element through JavaScript or something like that, they can put in an ID so they know what it is. And here we're gonna override on initialized, and if element ID equals null, then we're going to supply one for them. And for that, we're going to need another helper. We'll call this bf string helpers.cs, and we're going to make that a static class, and public string generate. We'll just keep it generic for now. Random string this string s int length, and we'll give it a default of 5. I'd say that should be enough. And I decided it'd be a good idea to not have to make you watch me type this stuff out. And we'll go string alpha numeric is equal, and we'll paste that in, and let's put a random up here. We may need a random somewhere else, so random. I tend to put that's going to be static. I tend to put the underscore after the field name, because I'm getting screwed up here with this stuff. Get rid of some of these. Okay. I tend to put that the underscore afterwards, because if you got a bunch of them, and then you go to type in IntelliSense and you start with that, and then you get a whole list of all your field names, so you have to type in again, and just doing the underscore, that's shift and then the underscore, so that's 2 strokes, whereas you can just do that and it's going to bring it up. Anyway, I don't want to instantiate it unless it needs to be. If random equal null, random equal new random. Now we're going to put a for loop in here. Length, and I don't know if I should use a string builder for this. Maybe so, huh? I don't know. Benchmark test string builder. Okay, that's not in scope. Builder. That's B. I don't know, I may end up using this for other stuff, so that's why I'm putting it at the file level. SB equal new string builder, else SB clear. Okay, now let's go into index equal random next 0, and we'll go alphanumerics.length, which, you know, if we got a bunch of form elements here, we probably should have the length here so it doesn't have to keep dotting into that. I don't know how much of a difference it makes. Microseconds. Int alpha length equals alphanumerics dot length. Don't smoke, kids, it's bad for you. Alpha length. Okay. Append alphanumerics. And we're gonna dot into that with the index. And at the end of it, we're gonna return. Return SB string. Alright, so that would give us a way to that would give us a way to just generate a random string. So we're going to go into our base class, which is this one. Then we'll say element ID equal generate random string, and that should give us that. So now, and also let's do this. We should be documenting this for the end users. Optional. The input elements ID attribute and the associated labels for attribute. If not supplied, random ID is generated. Alright. Required seems to be pretty cut and dry, but we'll go ahead and put something on it for that too. Optional, I don't know. If true, label the associated label will have a red asterisk indicating this is a required field. Field, baby, field. Come on, fingers. Alright, so I believe that's it for that. Now we go into our text, and that needs an element ID too, right? So first of all, let's put the ID in here, which try to keep these alphabetical. Except for I like the important stuff first, like what type of text box it is. I mean, what type of input it is, and then what I'm binding the value to. ID equals at element ID. Now we need to pass that to our helper, our label helper. So we're gonna have to put in another, and this one's gonna be required. This is only for edit editor required, parameter, and we'll call that prop, string, element ID, input ID. We have to call it input ID. We should probably, although this is, I'm just documenting because nobody's going to be using this label except for the developers, which for now is me. But we'll put a 4 equals at element, input ID, right? Input ID. Alright, and that should do that. There's not really going to be anything to see here, but let's just see it in action. Oh, in the last video I forgot to check and see if that required attribute is left out. So, alright, so let's just take a look at this. And of course it doesn't have anything. It's getting the ID there, but why isn't it getting it there? Because I'm an idiot, probably. Let's see. Yeah, I'm an idiot, of course. See, editor required. Input ID equals at element ID. Now we should have it. Now we should have it. Alright. So, let's take a look. Alright, so it's got the 4 here and that there. So I believe on regular forms, yeah, so you can click on the label and it'll bring you to the thing. That's what that 4 thing does. And also let's take a look at this one and see if that required attribute is put on there as it's supposed to be. Required, yeah, it's just the attribute. It doesn't say attribute true, and then, or, required equals true. And looking at this one again, yeah, no required element. Alright, so that's the ID, and again, it just saves you typing time by not having to put an element ID on there. But you can if you need to use it in JavaScript. I can't think of a corny joke at the moment, so I'll have to catch you on the next one. Like, comment, subscribe, support me on Patreon, Ko-Fi, yada yada.